No human is perfect, and we all are bound to make some mistakes in our lives, but mistakes which could have easily been avoided, are not mistakes, but blunders. Especially, if you are the first Prime Minister of a newly formed country, and your actions will seal the fate of this brand new nation, and its people. And so in this video, we will highlight the blunders made by Pandit Nehru, which still haunts India and its people. The partition of India. After almost a century of fighting the British, India finally achieved independence in 1947. This era was marked by Britain's desperate attempts to divide India using communal violence, and India's non-violent response. At the end, British had to surrender, yet they ended up brainwashing Jinnah against India and its Hindu majority people. Jinnah dreamt of becoming the first Prime Minister of India, but after rejection from all major leaders of that era, Jinnah gave the situation a communal twist, and raised questions regarding the safety of Muslims in a Hindu-dominant country. The British wanted to utilize this situation, and divide India into two. The British hence put forward India's partition as the only solution to this problem. It was now Nehru's responsibility to ease the situation, by convincing Jinnah that India was a secular nation in the Mughal era, and thus will remain a secular nation in the years to come, but instead, Nehru found dividing a nation much easier, than negotiating with a person. And thus, he readily accepted the British solution of divide and rule, and India had to face a bloody partition. This also marked the birth of Pakistan, a nation which has been a permanent enemy and a constant headache for India, since its inception. Adoption of socialism instead of capitalism. Finally, after partition, India was free to frame the nation of its dreams. As the first Prime Minister, it was Nehru's duty to devise a framework to benefit India's rich resources to the maximum. And the best suited economy for India is a free market economy, an economy that urges every Indian and other economies of the world, a chance to play its part in India's growth story, an economy governed by the market itself and not by the government. This was the best suited economy for India, as considering the fact that India had no prior knowledge to anything, thanks to the British, and is also made up of a group of unique states, with its own unique features. So, allowing the market to govern itself in its own unique way, would have been the best possible solution. And thus, the formation of the United States of India with a free and open economy, would have been a more practical solution. Nehru was strictly against capitalism and open economy. He thought that capitalism will make people selfish, and thus was in favor of socialism. This would mean, implementing a very complicated structure of single set of rules, modified to work in different ways. This also meant making the government the supreme commander for all affairs. What Nehru failed to realize that, socialism will make the government selfish, which is even worse than people being selfish. Socialism is the route to corruption. And thus by implementing socialism, Nehru sowed the seeds of corruption in India. Nehru was a blunder himself. Nehru was a weird man. He was proud of the Indian culture, but lived a lifestyle of the British. He dreamt of a powerful Indian economy, but formulated a system to oppose it. According to Nehru, agriculture was India's strength, but did nothing to benefit the Indian agriculture. Nehru's aim was a connected India, but the condition of Indian roads and infrastructures were among the worst in the world. According to Nehru, India's top priority was the eradication of poverty, but he prohibited privatization. He dreamt of a secular and unified India, but created separate laws for Hindus and Muslims, and followed a liberalistic attitude of appeasing different communities, a philosophy currently being followed religiously by the Award Wapsi gang. The Kashmir issue. After independence, a number of princely states decided to become a part of India, at their own will. The responsibility of managing the merger of these states was given to Sardar Patel, and he was doing a fabulous job. One state after other was being merged in India. As like other states, the princely state of Kashmir, ruled by Maharaja Hari Singh, had opted to merge with India. But, Nehru opposed. According to him, Kashmir was a Muslim-dominant state, and thus Sheikh Abdullah will decide whether Kashmir will be a part of India or Pakistan, and not Maharaja Hari Singh. Pakistan utilized this opportunity to destabilize the region by provoking anti-India sentiments among the local Muslims. Pakistan used the partition to infiltrate militants into Kashmir to free it from Hindu rule. And thus began the violence of Kashmir, which continues till date. The Maharaja pleaded Nehru to take action, as he was losing control of his kingdom. But Nehru insisted on the release of Sheikh Abdullah. Having no other choice, the Maharaja went to Mountbatten for help. Mountbatten ordered the accession of Kashmir to India, and military to be flown into Kashmir to stabilize the region. Rattled by this, Pakistan declared an indirect war on India, just few weeks after its independence. The newly formed Pakistani army joined the conflict not to attack India, but to protect and help the militants attacking India and Kashmir. But the Indian forces, or the ex-Royal Indian Army with experience of war, retaliated with full force. Militants and Pakistani army were losing ground fast. India was all set to acquire the Kashmir Valley. But in a sudden turn of events, Nehru went to the United Nations to resolve the matter. This shocked Sardar Patel. He had no idea why Nehru would seek help from the United Nations, in a matter which does not require any help from anyone. Further, there was absolutely no need to take an internal event to international level. But, acting on Nehru's request, the UN ordered forces of both India and Pakistan to maintain ceasefire and withdraw forces as soon as possible. Pakistan never maintained ceasefire, nor will it ever will. Where the Indian army stopped became the line of control. And thus the same situation is currently being repeated over and over again, till date. After all this mess, Nehru was not done yet. His overly affectionate behavior towards Sheikh Abdullah was marked by appeasing him to the maximum by appointing him the Prime Minister of Kashmir. Nehru appointed a special status to Kashmir by awarding sovereign and autonomous status to Kashmir, in the form of Article 370. As per this article, Kashmir has the rights to not follow the Constitution of India. All laws formulated by the Indian government regarding Kashmir will be passed by the government of Kashmir, and many other. But, even after so much appeasement, Sheikh Abdullah showed his true colors by again invoking the Azad Kashmir agenda, which continues till date. Rejecting permanent seat to United Nations Security Council. One of the most unbelievable feat of Nehru remains his decision of rejecting a proposal by both USA and USSR to make India a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. This proposal was put forward considering India's long history of nonviolent and peaceful behavior. But, Nehru objected. According to him, the seat belonged to a country more powerful than India. That country was China. Nehru gifted the permanent seat to the UNSC to China. Even after China became a permanent member, USA still insisted India to join the club. But all efforts after that are being blocked by none other than China itself. Rivalry with China. While India was busy dealing with the Kashmir issue, China was busy confronting its Tibet issue. That time the revolt went violent. Followers of Dalai Lama refused to surrender under the Chinese army, which was trying its best to prevent the formation of independent Tibet. But, unlike India, China launched a full-scale offensive to bring Tibet under its control. Fearing a life threat, Dalai Lama tried to escape from China. But, China warned against any country providing refuge to him will meet serious consequences. Thus all neighboring country refused to accept Dalai Lama. But, Nehru stepped into the game. He accepted Dalai Lama with open arms. China warned India that accepting Dalai Lama will be considered as an act of war. But Nehru didn't bother and allowed Dalai Lama to live in India. This rattled China. They were planning to attack India, but feared that Chinese army may lose against the ex-Royal Indian Army. America CIA contacted Indian Army, informing it about China's plan to attack India. The Indian army was fully prepared. It chalked out a massive defensive in case China did attack India. But, Nehru outright rejected Indian army's defensive, saying India is a non-violent nation, and even threatened to dissolve the Indian army, as the Indian police force was doing a great job maintaining law and order. Shocked by this, the Indian Army general said, "With such a mindset, only God can save India in times of disaster." China was scared of three things. First, the Indian Army was ex-Royal Indian Army, which means attacking the Indian Army will be equivalent of attacking the Royal British Army, in terms of power, preparedness, and experience. Second, the terrain. China could only attack India from the Iskai-Chin side, and that side was dominated by treacherous mountains from both sides. Third, India was a favorite of both USA and USSR, the only superpowers of the world. Thus, in a way, God did actually protect India. But Nehru didn't like that. He invited the Chinese Prime Minister to India, and in this visit the Chinese realized Nehru's mentality, and how ill-prepared Indian armed forces were, all thanks to Nehru. After the visit, China started re-exploring the possibility of attacking India, but now two things were still in favor of India. First, USA and USSR were still in India's favor. And second, was that the issue had become obsolete by then. Thus, China thought that, is attacking India really worth it? And just when China was considering to drop the idea of attacking India, the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, and both USA and USSR came on the verge of a nuclear World War III. China wanted to seize this opportunity. It thought that if China was ever to attack India it would be now. Thus, China finally decided to attack India, not to harm India, but just to teach India a lesson. China's aim was to keep attacking India until the Cuban crisis lasted, and retreat once it's over. China went ahead with its plan, and Indo-China War took place. India lost the war due to Nehru. And as a consequence, India lost Iskai-Chin, simply because India was unable to control that region in the aftermath of war. Other blunders of Nehru. Nehru didn't stop here. Apart from these major blunders, which haunts India even today, Nehru committed other blunders as well, which range from not convincing Nepal to become a part of India, to not accepting the princely state of Balochistan, as a gift from the ruler which later Pakistan acquired by force. From not interfering in Tibetan independence movement, as a free Tibet would have acted as a buffer between India and China, to letting the princely state of Hyderabad become a second Pakistan, but Sardar Patel intervened and saved this from happening. From not controlling the growth of anti-Sri Lankan LTTE movement, to giving away free water to Pakistan, which India desperately needed to meet its energy demands, in the form of Indus Water Treaty, and projecting India as poor and snake charmers country to the world. The list goes on. These were our top 5 list of major blunders of Nehru. What according to you was Nehru's biggest blunder of them all? To us, it was the partition of India, and hence the Kashmir issue. Feel free to share your views in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do check out our other videos as well. Links to a few are on your screen. Please subscribe and do not forget to hit the like button. See you in another video. Thanks for watching.